In May 1983, Shelia Ann Nichols was a teenage girl living in Georgia. Then one day, she vanished.
We really don't know how or why she left.
Her family was left without answers.
No, and they could never find her.
Around the same time, another family tragedy. Sheila's sister, Virginia Gale, also disappeared. Two girls, same rural area of Georgia near Atlanta, gone without a trace.
In the 1980s, this area out in West Broward was a dumping ground for bodies.
In September 1983, a truck driver on US 27 in the South Florida Everglades made a gruesome discovery.
He found the remains of a young lady.
He found a skeleton of a young woman who had been murdered. There was no identification, no name. Experts created a model of the victim's face, but she remained nameless for decades. Then, a breakthrough. Thanks to a combination of science, genealogy, and persistent detective work.
We were able to identify the young lady as Shelia Ann Nichols of Decatur, Georgia.
Shelia Ann's remains were discovered in South Florida, more than 650 miles from her home. How did she get there? Who killed her? And what happened to her missing sister? These are questions that stumped detectives for years and are the focus of this episode of Open and Unsolved.
We need that one phone call from one person, and it would make all the difference in the world going forward.
The precise location where Shelia Ann Nichols' body was discovered along US 27 in 1983 is lost to time.
The area behind me was covered with pine trees. The land was littered with pine cones and pine needles. So it's changed significantly.
Broward Sheriff's Office Cold Case Homicide Unit Detective Andrew Giannino recently revisited the area.
There's very little physical evidence that would tell us that she was physically killed at the location where she was recovered.
For a cold case detective, the job requires patience and a careful re-examination of evidence collected and questions asked years before. But the passage of time does not diminish the cruelty of what happened to Shelia Ann.
And it's unspeakable how somebody can just dispose this young lady, complete disregard.
When Detective Giannino began working this case in 2024, the victim's identity was a mystery.
We first had to get a DNA profile of who she was. So having no flesh and only having the teeth and bones, we have to then extract DNA from the skeletal remains in order to get a profile of who we're dealing with.
Once those results came in, Detective Giannino headed to the BSO Crime Lab. Paula Ledesma is a forensic scientist in BSO's crime lab. She recently completed training in forensic genetic genealogy.
So forensic genetic genealogy is a method that utilizes both genetic information and traditional genealogy to identify an individual.
The testing on Shelia Ann's bones was done at a private lab and were sent to BSO. And this is where it gets scientific. The DNA results came from testing of a larger section of the DNA molecule than in typical investigations. But the more substantial testing does not provide a specific name of a victim. Rather, it narrows the number of individual profiles for Ledesma to research through genealogy records in hopes of uncovering that victim's identity.
So what we have to do at that point is identify who that match is by name and start to build that person's family tree.
For Detective Giannino, this was a major step forward in the case.
As a cold case investigator, it is absolutely priceless to have the team around us as we do. They really are the backbone of this particular investigation. They were able to provide us with a family tree to dissect and to narrow down until we got to the branch, until we found the leaf, until we interviewed Clyde Nichols, the victim's father. Hello, Clyde. How are you?
I'm all right.
In October 2025, Detective Giannino and a team from BSO traveled to Decatur, Georgia to meet with Shelia Ann's father, 86-year-old Clyde Nichols. They confirmed the news he had long feared, that his daughter Shelia Ann was dead.
Yeah, closure. Yeah, I'm really glad to find out. Because I wondered about all them years.
Detectives also visited the house where it's believed Shelia Ann was last seen alive, but few clues emerged about who may have killed her and left her body in South Florida.
This has to be one of the most complex cases with various twists that I've ever worked.
When Sheila's body was discovered, detectives found a blue work shirt with the business name B.C. Cook on it. Was that shirt connected to Shelia Ann's murder? Detectives do not know. Then, in the mid-1990s, a man named Ricky Ross claimed he killed Shelia Ann. But after an in-depth investigation, Detective Giannino determined he was not the killer.
In 2025, we were able to determine through the various databases that Rick Ross was absolutely in custody at the time Shelia Ann disappeared and the time in which she was recovered. He could not be a suspect in this matter.
And it's all next, right here, on the Maury Povich Show.
Then there's Maury Povich. In the 1990s, Shelia Ann's family wrote a letter to the talk show host asking if he could profile the missing sisters on his show. The case never made it to TV, but it was a significant clue for this BSO detective.
When I received the letter, it was the break in the case that we needed. And we found that in June of 2025, Virginia Gale was arrested for vagrancy in the Georgia area.
I wanted you to say hi because I can't tell you how long we've been working together to find you.
In November 2025, Detective Giannino again traveled to Georgia, this time to connect with Shelia Ann's missing sister, Virginia Gale.
And it was an incredible reunion for her.
These are the highs and lows of dogged police work.
My mother was Clyde's sister.
The joy of locating a woman missing for 42 years and reuniting her with her family, and the pain of telling that woman that her beloved sister was identified as the victim of a homicide nearly half a century ago.
It at least closes that chapter of this story, by far not the book.
The book on Shelia Ann's life doesn't yet have an ending, but Detective Giannino is following leads on who Shelia Ann may have been with in Decatur, Georgia, when she vanished.
There is some information as to who she may have been seen last with, and we are pursuing those leads. But what we need is the public's help from the Georgia area.
Anyone with information is asked to contact Broward County Crime Stoppers at 954-493-TIPS. Your information could help Detective Giannino write the final chapter of that book and provide long-sought answers to a grieving family.
When we find out who is responsible for her death, that will close the book in my eyes and hopefully give the family some peace.